Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Aryan and today we're talking about 5 skills you actually need to become a filmmaker. Let's get started. So when you're first getting into this filmmaking thing, there's just so much stuff to consider, whether that be a camera, lenses, mics, gimbals, so much stuff, and it can be a bit overwhelming. And what I find personally is that people kind of brush over some of the core elements of filmmaking. So today in this video, I'm going to talk about some of these essential things that you really need to become a filmmaker, and I think they don't get enough attention. And jumping right into number 1 would be good storytelling. Believe it or not, but nothing beats a great story. I mean, you can have the most visually stunning film, everything can be perfect, the shots can look amazing, but if the story is just not there and your audience isn't invested in the characters, people are not really gonna care. So, story has to be number 1 priority in whatever project you're working on. Let me give you a very quick example. Amazing Spider-Man 2 versus Spider-Man 2. Of course, both of these being Spider-Man films, they have the exact same main character, Peter Parker, but Spider-Man 2 is easily one of the most loved Spider-Man films of all time, and on the other hand, Amazing Spider-Man 2, not so much. Critics didn't love it, fans didn't love it, it just didn't sit well with anybody. If you sit back and think about it, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 has some really stunning visual effects. I mean, everything from start to finish, it's just very well done in terms of the visual look, but the story, not so much. And on the other hand, Spider-Man 2, the CG, of course, of 2004 wasn't the best thing in the world, but people love that film because it really kind of understands what the film is all about. It understands its main character, and people are invested in those main characters. I mean, say whatever you want, but the train scene is one of the most famous and iconic scenes of all time. Now, another great example of this would be Memento. Now, if you've seen this movie, it's by Christopher Nolan. I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorites of all time. There's nothing spectacular about the cinematography. I wouldn't say any of the shots scream out at you as being very cinematic, but still, the movie is so good because the story is just amazing. It's about a guy who can't make new memories, but is trying to solve the murder case of his wife. It's an amazing concept, the execution is amazing, and overall it's a very cinematic experience without it being very cinematic. The same can be said for movies like Back to the Future, Forrest Gump, or The Bourne Identity. These are movies that don't necessarily focus on the cinematic shot, but they actually focus on story a lot more, and it's more than enough to get the audience coming back and watching these movies. If you want a more recent example, think of Black Panther. I mean, amazing film, amazing story, an absolute fan favorite, and you probably overlooked the fact that the CG in the final fight was kind of terrible. I mean, it kind of looked like two dummies fighting each other. But again, it doesn't matter because the story is there. You care for these characters. So story at the end of the day beats everything. And if you have a good story, it doesn't matter what your movie looks like, people will go and watch it. If a scene isn't shot perfectly in focus, people will tolerate that, trust me. But one thing they will not tolerate is bad audio. Seriously, bad audio doesn't sit well with anybody at all. I mean, trust me, you would not want to watch this YouTube video like this. This is terrible. So investing in a good microphone should be really high on your priority list. Trust me, audiences really hate stuff with bad audio. It doesn't sit well with anybody, and you really need to be paying attention to it. At least as much attention to it as your visuals, if not more. So moving on to number 3 is communication and collaboration. And I'm going to group those two together because they kind of go hand in hand. Communication is absolutely essential in pretty much every type of filmmaking, whether you're a freelancer talking to a client or whether you're a director explaining your actors how to do a scene. Trust me, there's nothing worse than a director who doesn't know what he's doing and he doesn't want to talk to anybody. Filmmaking is overall a very collaborative job, and you're always, working with different clients, different bosses, different actors, different producers. So communication should be a skill that you should always try to work on and really try to master. Now moving on to lighting, and hear me out. I personally believe that you can make any camera look expensive with good lighting. I mean, of course, technology has its limitations and you're not magically going to get 4K 120 with good lighting, but lighting really solves a lot of the fundamental issues that people have while trying to make their shots look cinematic. I mean, trust me, a new camera isn't going to do it. A new light just might. I mean, if you're dealing with like grainy footage, what do? Do you go and buy like a $5,000 camera that's gonna magically fix the grain? Or just, take a little bit of time out of your day and learn how to light properly? Seriously, this is a lesson that I learned the hard way. I pretty much spent the first 3 years of my career not really investing into a single light. I relied on sunlight all the time, and now honestly, I really regret that. I mean, I could have taken my cinematography to a whole other level if I would have just learned my lesson and invested into lights. You really can take your cinematography to the next level by just investing in a few lights. They don't have to be super expensive. Nowadays you can get nice lights for like $200-300, and they're really gonna improve your films and take your projects to a whole new level. If you're really not sure, just rent a few lights for a project and try it out. You're really not gonna regret it. Now, last but definitely not least would be practicing. And of course, Maddie Apoya said it best:
learn, make, repeat.
I mean, that's just gotta be the fundamentals of filmmaking. You learn, you make, you repeat. But there's a catch. What I see a lot of people doing is they learn and then they repeat. So you really need to be focusing on the middle step there and really go out there and make something. Whatever you learn today, if you spend 5 hours at home learning, watching YouTube or some other online website, go out there, put it to the test. There's nothing better than just practicing on the field. You're gonna make 100 mistakes, but those 100 mistakes you're not gonna make on your actual paid shoots or paid gigs. So it's so much better to just make those mistakes on your own. I mean, everybody sucks at the start, and it's okay. Everybody goes through that phase. So I just recommend go do that. Go be awful when nobody's watching, because soon enough there are going to be a lot of eyes on you, expecting a lot of things, and you don't want to do that in front of everybody. So while nobody's watching, you have all the time in the world. Go out there, go be awful, and get it over with, so you can move on to the next phase and learn so many things and improve and really become an amazing filmmaker. You're not gonna make stuff that you're proud of until you get all of those horrible projects done first. So just get them over with, go out there and go make something today. Alright guys, that was 5 skills you actually need to become a filmmaker. Of course, a like and subscribe would be amazing. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Or if you have any advice of your own, make sure to leave that down there as well. Let's get a conversation going and let's chat in the comment section. That's been it for me, and I'll see you guys next time.